Okay, good morning.
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 All right, today I wanted to finish up on pretty much part two of this three-point lighting setup. The next phase that we need to get into a little bit is on the indirect lighting. So on Monday we covered a lot of direct lighting using the area lights inside of Maya here. So today we're gonna cover the process of setting up indirect light. So I'm gonna show you two different methods. Um, one is lighting without using a light, and the other one is going to be using an HDRI. So first off, let me do this. Give me a second here. Go over to Polyhaven. This website right here, it's called Polyhaven.com. You can find other free HDRIs out there, and recently CG Channel, someone posted, I believe last week, um, free one someplace. Let me just do a search for HDRI. Yeah, this place right here. So every so often, CG Channel is where I get most of my CG news, and it's also this site is owned by Noman, the Noman School for Visual Effects. They own this site, and they put out tons of stuff every day. They seem to be sometimes the first to get news on what's happening. It's not always the case, but a good 80% of the time, 85%, they get a lot of good information. But they also post tutorials, a lot of training, free resources, and this is a location that you can go to get your, just look for certain things. So if you're looking for free HDRIs, I believe this one takes us back over to Polyhaven, maybe. This is the photographer. We're going to use these today. I'm going to show you how to drop them into Maya and set them up. Let me make sure. Let's see, open HDR. Let's see what this goes. No, this is a different place. Cool. So they're offering free ones. Of course, back over here, this guy is offering free ones. And I've downloaded a few of these. I may download one right now. And the way they have these things set up is by the size. So you have a 1K to 24K. This is film quality, gaming, and gaming quality HDRIs. I would be careful with these. If you're producing visual effects shots or some sort of compositing shot, even inside of Unreal, these are the quality ones that you may want to use. But if you're just for gaming, the 1K, 2K, and 4K is what I would go with. And to be honest with you, 1K is good enough. So let me take one of these. I already have a few downloaded, and what you want to do here is, you can set up a filter. So if you're looking for overcast, let's check out the night ones. And the night ones, to me, they all seem to be under some sort of underpass. I do have a few other ones that are outside exposed under the sky, but you can come in and just play around with these and find what you need. Let me see here. Let's check out the forest one. And if you notice, I used to teach students at a different school. We had a class called Materials and Lighting. And in that class, we would cover all the materials, different how to set them up, what it means. Um, Go through the same lighting type stuff, but more advanced stuff. And then when we get to HDRIs, I would show them the process for how to photograph these with a digital SLR. But there's a one common denominator in a lot of these. It's not always the case, but there is one common denominator. Shooting, the best time to shoot. So if you're going out and you're shooting reference, if you're going out and you need to shoot an HDRI, the best time to shoot is overcast skies. Okay, can someone possibly tell me why that is? If you have some knowledge of HDRIs, why do you see most HDRIs being shot with overcast skies? Anyone? Yes, Isabel is correct. Consistent lighting. Because the lighting needs to be consistent. You don't want clouds rolling in and changing the lighting. So this is the main reason. You're absolutely correct. This is the main reason why we do this. So let me take, let's take this one here. You just see it. And you can roll, this is what HDRI does. So basically it is, you're gonna shoot, the way you can shoot these are with a chrome ball. I own one. It's not a mirror ball, but a chrome ball. Or you have to set up what's called a Noto Ninja, a certain rig, and you're rotating the camera so at so many degrees and snapping off the shot. That takes a long time. The chrome ball is a little bit easier. So when you're looking for your environment, so say you're for, especially for your levels, if you're looking for a certain lighting, if you can't shoot it yourself, you want to go to places like this to sort of find what you need. I'm checking. He did a really good job of removing key things. There's features in here when you're shooting these things that can possibly appear in your shot, like the camera, then the tripod, you don't even see. So he took that out also. It's pretty good. And a lot of this stuff today can be shot with your own phone. So you can look up shooting an HDRI with your own phones, or you have to go out and get like they make these 360 cameras that you can use also. I have one, I own one, but I haven't tried it yet. And I think I am gonna try it. But this is how you can create these things. You just need to know how to put it together. And there's software for that type of thing. Where was I? It's outdoor. It was this one, right? I'm just gonna, no, it wasn't. Or was it? There it is. I'm gonna take the 1K and let's go ahead and take the 2K. And let's open those up and put them in a specific folder. Give me just a second here. Do this real quick. Any questions? Any questions about the lighting stuff while I'm looking and moving files around? That's a question. Okay. 2K, 4K, cobblestone. Okay. You don't see me doing this, but I'm just moving these files around. Got it. All right, so I have a few of these. Okay, see it right there, I have a few of these. So let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so pretty much the very first thing I want to show you is how to light this thing. I'm gonna take that out. That's the Sky Dome. That's what we're about to get into. What I want to do is set up a reflector. It's something that photographers use. So these lights also act as direct reflectors for this whole lighting side, the direct lighting side. But I'm gonna create, what I want to do here is go in and I'm gonna create a plane. Let me use my settings. Let's create a plane here. And I'm going to flip this plane. Let's do something like that. And I'm gonna make a few cuts to this plane here. Cut there, cut there. Well, mine has been running really slow as of late. Yeah, it didn't even cut all the way through. Let's go here, there. What's going on? Okay, you want to act up? Fine. Still achieve it by doing that. All right, so now let's take this plane here. I have it inverted. Scale it down. And this is going to act as my my light source. Okay. So to do this, with this plane selected, now you can use any object. For example, let me create a, I'll tell you what, let's go get a donut. Create a torus. The torus also is going to act as a light source. Let's make it a little bit larger. Let's frame up on it. All right, so what I need to do here is assign this a material. So I'm going to give it, I don't think it really matters what type of material it is. So let me see if it works. If I give it a Lambert, let me check to make sure that I can do this with that Lambert right quick. Looking for is, let me see if it's the incandescence can work here. Let's bring that up. Check to make sure. Let me turn off all my other lights here. So I want to remove them. Wrong place. Okay, let me go back to the torus. I'll select it and press Control A to open up the attributes for it. Where are you, Lambert? There we go. I don't know if this one is the one, the material I need to use, but if I bump this thing up, we technically should be this thing here we can use as a light source, but I'm not seeing it. I may be in the wrong area. This may not have transmission. Ray tracing, nope. Matte, nope. Flow, intensity, nope. Where are you? Don't care about the color there. Incandescence. Yeah, I think I'm missing something. I'm missing. Let me try to change. So you can change these from without having to create a new one. Let's try Arnold standard shader transmission. The transmission. Yep. Yeah, you see it coming in right there. Can you all see that? So it's going to be the emission here, where we can do that. So if I come in and I change this up to a higher number, say 5, you see this thing is being lit just by using this object. There it is right there inside the shot. So we have our lights off. The background light is still on, so let's turn that one off too, so you can see it there. So we can rotate this, we can shape. And all that means, so what I can do is I can come back in and increase the value. So if I want to increase this even more, say 15, see it's just going to get brighter and brighter. Now, here's the great thing about this. Yeah, the torus is indirect lighting. So I'm using this particular channel for emission. So it's emitting light and it's doing it through a color. So that I can increase the value. Now, I can give it color, If I want to, I can give it a red color or whatever. And then increase that. So now it's red. Okay, you can do that throughout. So this is something that you can use to sort of shape, if you want to shape your lights, to add an addition type of, let's just go to world space. Some sort of additional light source to sort of enhance your lights a little bit. And same thing there. So I want to take this one and let's add a new light. So apparently I'm going to go into new material. Let's Arnold Surface AI. So here's what I'm wondering. I'm going to switch this over because I'm curious. I know in the past, I mean, before Arnold, we were able to do this. So I'm going to try a different light source. Let me try a blend, a regular blend. And somewhere in here is the option to do that. It used to be up here. That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to go and find it, and then I'll put up something to note where to find this, just in case you are not able to use the Arnold shaders. Yeah, it should be in one of these, but that's not here. Certain programs are going to call it different things. I don't know what Blender calls it. I know what Moto calls it. I know what Softimage, all these different programs out here will call it. But Maya seems to keep changing things. Let me try a Phong. So this whole incandescence right there. Yeah, it looks like it's doing it. See it? The incandescence. I guess that's what it is. When I tried it on one of the other ones, it didn't work unless I didn't have the values up high enough. So 20, there you go. Check that out. So it looks like we're right back where we started. Okay, with that high incandescence, and I can bring that down. The only drawback to doing this is you need to place these little reflectors, that are emitting light. You need to place them away and off screen, okay, because they will appear. There are options in here to make these non-visible. So somewhere in here, there's a render state, and you can tell it to receive shadows. You can tell it that you want it to, or what you want it to do here. Cast a shadow, receive shadows. I don't need it receiving shadows. Motion blur, we don't need. Primary visibility, see, we should be able to turn it on and off. If I go back and select this one, this main one. See, what that means is I can turn it off here and the camera won't see it. And just to confirm that, let me run a test here. Let's move this into the shot. And then let's see if we can turn it off here. See there? So you could do little tricks like that if you wanted to. This is something you'll find a lot of, visual effects houses and all, they'll do stuff like this. It's pretty cool. So this is just another way for indirect lighting. And the way this is working is something called global illumination. And through GI, it's taking, this thing is emitting photons, and the photons are hitting the floor, it's hitting all the objects, it's bouncing around a little bit, and all that stuff gets calculated and through that global illumination. Hence the word global illumination. So this whole world type illumination is what's being used there. So it calculates, and then you can go back and we can start enhancing that even more with other lights. So see what's happening here? Turning on the other lights. Key light is on, the rim light. So you can mix this process. It's easy to do. Questions on this?
Yeah, you hid the object by unchecking primary visibility, right?
Yeah. So all you
Okay.
need to do, and that is under the way you find that, you need to, all you have to do is select the object and press Control A to bring up the attribute editor. And under the render stats, right there, this is where you can make changes to whatever. You don't want it, so I don't need it to receive reflections to any type of refractions and all this type of stuff. So this is not glass or anything. We don't need to see it. Holdout matte would be, the holdout means that this is a matte that we could use for like cutting. If I wanted to turn that on, I can matte this thing out for compositing. Say I don't need to receive shadows. Cast shadows, yeah, we may want it to cast shadows. Let's turn on that backdrop again also. So you see how now that's blending pretty well back there. Okay. How do you know if the plane is reflecting? Um, you'll know it. Let me do this. Let's take that one and let's go in. I believe it's right here. So let's take this one out. So you see, I'm gonna take it out so it changed a little bit. Let's turn off all of this stuff again. So the only one that's reflecting right now is this one. And the way it's reflecting, to answer your question, is I'm going to right click here and go down to material attribute to bring this back up. It is using the incandescence right here. See, I can turn that on and off. And that's how that's working there. And what it's using is we're not using hue. We're not using saturation, even though I can come in and change the colors. So if I want to change some of the colors here, see, I can add some blue in there or some green just by increasing that up a little bit. But the main, the emission of light is coming from the value. So we can adjust it there. So you want to start off slow when you're doing this type of stuff. I'm going to turn these back on. So if you were using a reflector here to do this type of thing, you kind of want to start off, keep it off and slowly start increasing this a little bit. So I don't want to go all the way up here. I just want to add a little extra ambient lighting in here is what I'm sort of adding there. Okay. And again, if I need to add some sort of weird effect, somebody on your team comes along and say, hey, can we add a little bit more green in here? Yes, we can. We can add a little bit more green into that. So this thing could be outside in the forest or whatever. So we can composite that way. And that's how that works. Oh, they change their mind, and someone comes along and says, "Hey, can we go red?" Yeah, we can do that. But normally, once you get the rendering process start, and Maya has what's called AOVs, it's just a fancy term that they have called for multipassing. We can break this thing up into different states, color. We can break it up in color, specularity, reflection, shadows. We can separate out all of those in different images. And then in using something like Photoshop or Nuke or After Effects, we can blend that stuff back together. You can even do that stuff inside of Unreal. And the purpose behind that is, and you all need to be taught that. I'm be honest with you. I don't care what it is you're modeling, what it is you're creating. You need to be taught the process or start researching the process of multipass rendering. So look up multi-pass rendering and compositing, how to put that stuff back together. Reason why is because you're going to be producing your own renders for your own. Like if this was going to be a render, not to say it is, but if this was going to be a render that I'm going to put in my portfolio, I need to have the ability to make changes on the back end. I don't want to have to come over and constantly make changes, because your client's going to come in, and those that have had clients will know this. They're going to always want to add and do things, weird stuff, and make changes. So for example, if this ball was red and I wanted to make it, and I rendered that out, and they said, hey, we need to change that color, because FYI, if you don't know this is a cinematographer type thing, photography thing. Color red really doesn't, because of the frequency, that color has to be managed more on television and the big screen. Okay, it causes problems. So there's a lot of color correction that has to happen. So it doesn't matter now, especially with using programs like Unreal, that is more production centric right now. Um, you can multipass over there, and what that means, what it means is somebody comes along and wants to make a change. So if that red ball now needs to be green, I can do that in post. I don't have to come over and re-render. Because imagine this, we animated it, did a 360 animation of it, where I had 13,000 frames. Okay, 13,000 frames, and this thing was red. Now I need to make it green. That render, depending on the quality of your render, there's instances where it could take 24 hours to render out one frame. That's what happens, and that's why these big shops have these big render farms and all this stuff. But if you don't have that, 13,000 frames, and it takes you, maybe modest, if it takes you 15 minutes per frame, that's a long time. So what you need to do is you render it out, multipass it out, and for that, what it means is it's gonna the ball is gonna be separate, the tube is gonna be separate, the box is gonna be separate. We're gonna have the color, we're gonna have the shadows, we're gonna even render out the lights. We're gonna, if any specularity on it, I'm gonna render that stuff out separately, and then using again certain compositing programs, I'm gonna put all that stuff back together. So when they say, "Hey Joe, we need you to change that ball color from red to green," all I have to do is go into the color channel, add a hue saturation, and change it. And then they can sit there and tell me exactly what color that is. And I just save myself and them a whole lot of time and money. Okay, that's what it boils down to. They can say the shadows are a little bit um too gray. We can make changes to the shadows. They say the shadows are a little bit too dark. I can lighten the shadows or blur them out. They say, hey, the backdrop has too much red in it. I can go in and I can find that particular light. I can render out the light separate and then change the colors of the light. Okay, so multipass rendering is what I want you to look up, because you need to know how to do this. I do this for my characters. I will composite them, multipass them out different stages. If I have time, I have the program that I use is called Modo. I'll see if I can get it open and find the old file, or I'll find images and post those images of one of my characters, and then I composite that stuff back together inside of Photoshop to make changes. Any changes and every change I need, I can do that. Okay, I know this is long-winded, but these are things that I wish that the program taught more of. And in the future, I may need to start teaching a lot of that stuff in the 3D classes, how to composite, how to set up your AOVs inside of Maya, and then which can get time consuming, and then how to composite that stuff back together. If you're using Blender, Blender does all of this stuff too. And from what I understand, certain programs are easier. Multipassing in Blender is going to be easy. Modo is going to be somewhat easy. 3ds Max, those that know and use 3ds Max, all you have to do is click buttons and tell it what you want to output. Cinema 4D, I think, is a gem for this. Houdini does it all. But this is how it's done now, and it's also being done like this for some games. So they're outputting that way. Okay, so that is it for this part. The next part that I want to get into, I'm going to take these two, I'm going to put them on a layer so we can turn those off. So the next thing is how to use that HDRI. So inside of Arnold, so Arnold is right there. If you go to the Arnold's tab, you have these different light sources here. Right there, there's something called a sky dome light. I'm going to click it. And what it's going to do is pretty much, if I zoom out here, it's going to put a ball around this scene. Each one of these little quads right here, or polys, is going to illuminate light. So imagine these just being some sort of light source all the way around this thing. Well, this is now going to allow me to come in and make some changes here. So I can go underexposed or I can go overexposed. This is lighting my shot. Okay. Now, the great thing about this is we can change the colors here if we want to, but we can use an image in here to do that. That HDRI. Again, it stands for high dynamic range images. That's what it means. So I can click the color, go to color and click the little icon here, that checkerboard icon. Is going to open up a node. So these are all the many different nodes in here. We only need one node. The node that we need is a file node. That file node is now going to allow me to add a file. So with this selected, Control A to go into its attributes. See there? Right there, colors. You see it has now changed. So I have all these checkerboards here, but this one looks different. It's telling me that I can input in a file. When I click it, all I need to do now is come here and click the folder. Click the folder. It must be open somewhere. Let me find it. Oh, it's not. Oh, there it is, just slow. And look for your file. So I have it on the desktop. Here are all the many different files. See there? You can actually visually see them. So this is that 1K one. If I open it up, there it is. Sorry. So now this scene, this HDRI is being used to illuminate this. So now I can come in and I can increase the lighting here. You can match. This is how visual effects also works. So if you always wondered how they take a 3D object and they make it look like it belongs in that scene, they're using an HDRI to do that. They're using the light from the environment. So normally on a scene, on a set, you'll see somebody with a ball on a stick, and one side of the ball is chrome, and the other side has like this grayscale value. That helps them to determine light. So as their video, they're filming, someone will step in front of the camera with the ball, and on one side is gray, the other side is reflective, and they'll take that light data and they'll set up their shots. They'll composite that way. They'll light the shot. They'll put Godzilla in that city space, and they match. That's how they get the lights correct by doing this. The great thing here is we can rotate this sky dome. So I can rotate the sky dome here. Let me turn off the lights so you can see it better. I'm going to go ahead and turn off all these lights. You see, we're still getting, this is illuminating. So let's select this again. As I rotate it, I don't know if you all can see what's happening to the shadows, but the scene is being changed. Let me find a different one, something that has a little bit more light, more color. I took a few of these, like that cobblestone. I use that one a lot, and I'm going to be using this one inside of Unreal in a few weeks. See there? So the colors are coming off of that image and lighting the environment as I rotate that. And Control A to go into the attributes, and under exposure, this is where I can make change. We have a latitude, longitude. This is how it works. Mirror ball is going to change the overall look of this thing. So if I created this using the mirror ball, see how it's warping it. If I shot it using the chrome ball or the mirror ball, then I can use that. But the way they shot this thing was using a Noto Ninja on a rig, on a special camera rig, and they're shooting, and I'm telling you, it takes a long time. So you have to shoot at 90 degrees, a certain number of images at a certain exposure, 360. Rotate the camera up at a certain angle, repeat that at that same exposure, rotate the camera up again and keep doing that, and then rotate it down and keep going around and until you may have a total of 200 of that particular exposure, and then you go underexpose and repeat that process 7 steps. Underexposed, 7 steps, underexposed. You do the math on the number of calculations, on the number of images you might have. You might have a few hundred, a few or 1,000 images that you now have to splice back together. That's how this guy did this. It can take a long time. But look at that. So now I'm able to come in, make changes here. And we can come in here and turn on our lights and look. So we're getting that warm lighting coming through, some cool and warm lighting. And if I need to at any time, I can select my backdrop and just rotate it out to change the direction. So if I know which direction, pretend this is the, I'll tell you what, let's not pretend, let's go find one. I think I got one with the sun someplace. Let's see, do I have one? No, they're mostly night. Let's go back over here and find one where is outdoors. See the sun. See the sun is out. Yeah, let's take one in this field here. Let's download it. Oh, when you download these, okay, I'm glad I came back over. When you download these, what you want to do is you want to get when you see this little icon, whatever that's right there, it may say EXR. This is for film quality type stuff. What you need is the HDR. So click that, then you can decide on if you want a 4K, 2K, 1K, whatever. 4K should be fine, and then just download it. And when your download's complete, come on, go get that folder. I'm gonna drag it in here to a different location. So now, back in, see if we can find it. There it is. So we can take that one and open it like that. And now here's the kicker. So you're photographing this and you don't know where the sun is, right? So what we can do here, and I'm going to introduce you to something else. So we can take a reflector here, or we can take a different light source. Like Maya has other light sources, and let's see if one of them works, the default light source. So one is called a directional light. You got to be careful with those directional lights though. So lights and directional light right there. Okay. And I don't even have to move it up here. Only thing I need to do with this directional light. And so we see that the sun is there, which means that when the shadow should be on the backside, right? So I can take the directional light, zoom in a little bit, try to find and reposition, turn, and redirect to sort of match up that direction of where that sun is coming from. Like that. Okay. And see right there, see what's happening with the shadows. And we can change the color of that light. Used to be, let me see if a color picker, we could come in and click and come here and click there, and it'll try to match that light up or that color. But there's too much. Let's add a little yellow in that. Let's go to that side, make it warmer. And it's very, very intense. So we want to bring that down. So we're just going to warm that up just a little bit. Okay. So that's how that's done. That's what you do there. So we're just using a directional light. And if I change the direction of the backdrop and put the light source over here on this side and adjust it down or up, however I need to do it, I need to repeat that here. So rotate that like that. That's how that works there. So let's delete that one. Let's go back and find a different one. Let's take a look at this one. Now, one thing that I always do, you always have to do this. You can't, it's a little difficult to do, but what you want to do is you need to match your direct lights to your indirect HDRI lighting. Understand? So if I know that I have a lot of amber lighting coming from this side, that means that, but I also have this blue light coming from this side. So that fill light there, I may want to make that fill light a bluish color. Okay, I want to add blue into this shot here. And if I can, like I did earlier, click and pick one of these blues. Maybe let's go here. So you see what we're doing now. Trying to match that up. But remember what I say here, the problem is too saturated. We want to desaturate that down. Right? Check the backside here. So the key light, is this the key? I did something. I made some. What did I do? Did I turn that? Let's change that back. So that key light here, we need to adjust and change the color. So let me rotate this around. Let's pick maybe that color right there. See what's happening? So I'm trying to match the lighting up to my environment. So we need to adjust the exposure. So I don't want to go overly bright because this is a night shot. So it means I'm going to have to change out my exposure. And I also need to bring and adjust the exposure for the other lights here to turn that into a night shot. And right there, that backdrop. So something back here, which is going to be another blue or whatever color back here that we possibly can pick. Maybe that blue there. And really adjust again, bring that down some. See how this works? And I'm not too concerned about this one up here. That's just for the backdrop. Any questions so far on any of this stuff here on what I'm doing? So we have this ambient lighting coming in here from the key, this amber type lighting. And we have some blue light coming from the opposite side because we're getting blue on that side. We probably need a deeper, darker blue. Just gonna bring up the saturation just a little bit, add a little bit more color into that light, more hue. And then the back one, the back light, or the rim light. We'll pick the color there. Okay. And then I still have this one. So if I make a change, I can rotate this thing out. I know my light source is coming from behind me. My main light source is coming from behind me. And we can even go as far as start adjusting the underexposure or overexposing of this. See there, I'm underexposed now to try to maintain or probably go with more of a night shot. Okay. No, the intensity has it is to answer your question, the intensity for the light is the amount of power that's coming off of there. Remember, the exposure is how much light is coming into the camera, so I can make changes there. But just, I mean, just for the sake of, yeah, I can bring that down, but I don't need to. I don't have to make a major change here to the intensity. So imagine the intensity is me plugging a light into a wall and then using a dimmer switch to sort of control how much light is being illuminated. But that's not the most powerful thing. That's not where the power comes in. The power comes in from the exposure. How much of that light is coming into the camera is what we need to adjust here. See that right there? I can adjust that there alone. The key, you can bring that up a little bit more. Okay, the rim. Rim, I think, is fine. Okay. So any questions on this process and anything that you're seeing right now? This is the way it's done. Okay. So we're gonna do this later inside of Unreal. I got to show you that process of doing it inside of Unreal. There's some things that I definitely have to turn on, make sure they're working. It's called Lumen. We have to go into and make sure that Lumen settings are good and your system can handle it. And then we'll get into setting up 3-point rig over there using HDRIs, and then I have to show you the process of rendering, how to get that stuff out correctly, because it can be time consuming, and there are other little things that Epic makes complicated, which to my opinion, it shouldn't be that complicated, but they do. Okay, so what you need to do is go through and play around, find one or two decent HDRIs and play around with those just to see what kind of lighting effect that you can come up with. It's a different one in here. Oh, we saw that one. What is this one? And you see now we have more blues in this shot. That's nice. I still see that my colors are coming from this side. That amber color, we still see that we got blues coming from this side and more blues from the back side. So this is not where we're pretty much already set up here. If I was trying to match this and go from there. Okay. Let me take that backdrop right quick, and I'm curious if I turn that backdrop off. You can add what's called a grid on the floor, a regular grid here, and it'll act as a shadow catcher. Most 3D packages have something called a shadow catcher node. I don't know if Blender has that thing where we can have the environment look like it's catching the light and the shadows and is projecting it onto the actual floor of the image. So when you render that thing, this thing looks like it belongs there. Yeah, the exposure is set up too high in certain parts of this thing. But again, let's turn these off. There you go. This is the way it would traditionally look without that lighting. So the lights are just there as a enhancement. So you need both direct and indirect. So I can bring up the exposure a little bit. And this is where color grading comes in. There are teams out there for color grading. So they'll have to take the foreground color and match it with the background color is what they do there. They're good at that, and they use certain softwares. You can use DaVinci Resolve, which you all can get for free. And there's free training on color grading if you want to really truly match this up, because this is overblown right now looking compared to what I'm seeing in the background. So the exposure is set up a little bit too much. So there we go now. So just adding a little bit of more energy there. So I'm trying to eyeball this, but that's not the best thing, the most important thing, or the something that you probably want to do. But now I'm just adding in that extra light there, because again, on this side, we got that amber lighting. And then the fill, I want to fill in the shadows a little bit, which we shouldn't really, you don't need to fill in the shadows a lot because it's a night shot, right? See how that is really not affecting anything. So we got that, and then the rim. There's that rim, and the rim is a little bit too intense. So I want to drop it out just a little bit. So key though is the only one that I'm concerned with majorly. Let's bring that down. Now remember what I said the other day. You start out with 3 lights here, and what you want to do next is we want to add extra lights to start filling in some of these hard shadows. And what that means is just adding a small little light here and changing the color to whatever the bluish color is, bringing it down, and we want to fill in that shadow right there, because that shadow probably most likely shouldn't be there. And what I need to sort of reiterate that what I'm looking for in my HDRI, you always want to check to see the direction that the shadows are pointing. And the problem we have here is it's a night shot, semi overcast, and so it's hard to tell where the shadows are. You have to look where trees are, and if the sun was out, and the sun is not out here, so we don't know which direction. So which means that the shadows are probably going to be right up on the end flat, like what we have here. But I may want to go in and definitely add another light source just to fill that in. Okay, understood? Is this making sense to you all?
Yes, sir.
There.
Let's turn on that backdrop light, because look at what happens without it. That's with. Okay, so I would definitely come in and start making changes and play around with this also. And this is the process of setting up a 3-point light rig. How do I use this? Why do I set it up this way? This is the common light rig for most photographers. This is the common light rig for when you're starting out for the first time doing this type of stuff. And this is the common light rig that I would use for my character. So if I want to drop in one of my characters in here, all I need to do is delete the shapes, figure out which HDRI I want to use, and then I'll definitely go in and try to make it look as good as I can. Let me do this. I'm gonna pause right quick. Give me just a second. And what do I want? I don't need any of this. So now let me just minimize it. I'm gonna open up Moto. Let's see if I can find that file right quick. And FYI, if anyone is interested in playing around with Moto, they have discontinued it, which is a shame from the Foundry. And you get access to Moto for free all the way up to 2032, I believe, when they're gonna remove it for good. But you can go over to the Foundry, just type in Moto and the Foundry, and then what you'll get is complete access to the program. So the reason why Blender looks the way it does, and the reason why Blender is operating and does the way it is it functions, is because Blender, those guys over there, open source, they're scavengers. They go into different 3D packages and they pull from those different 3D packages. Oh, Moto has this. It'd be cool if we put it over here. That's what they're doing. So Maya has this, 3ds Max. So that's why Blender is set up the way it is. Go find what I need. Okay, I'm already here. Projects, personal projects. Files. Now I gotta find it. I know 2022 wasn't the last time. Maybe it was. Where's Sharky? Sharky. And I don't think it's in this folder. Bear with me. I really want you to see this light rig. So I believe it's in my ZBrush folder. Daggone it, I just gotta know where. Let me go back here. I'm looking for a folder called Sharky. The 21 Sharky. Are the Moto files in here for lighting? Dadgone it. Oh crap, I'm not. It's gonna take me forever to find this thing because there's a 3-point light rig that I really wanted you all to see inside of Moto. And it is not inside. It's gonna be wherever that project file was. The only other location, the only other way to see that is for me to take you to. Let me open up the Stream Deck. It's over on my ZBrush Central. Have an account there. So you all know about ArtStation, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so there is a location called ZBrush Central. And you can set up an account. So if you're in ZBrush and you're doing that type of stuff with whether it is hard surface or character, you can go to ZBrush Central. Everything is so disorganized right now, even my Stream Deck, all these freaking buttons. Does anyone use a Stream Deck? There it is. Let me log in. I think I can just do a search for Sharky because for some odd reason I can't even find my stuff anymore. What a crap are you? They don't make it easy to go in and go right into your own account. I'm logged in, but crap, where? Okay. Maybe it's just me. Sharky Bus. So some of you have seen this one, right? But this was all rendered inside of Moto. So this is the ZBrush stuff. This is the Substance Painter stuff, but there it is right there. This is what I was trying to open up. Same 3-point light rig with a little reflector there. It's extremely easy. It's easier to set this up than it is inside of Maya. Okay. And somewhere else, I can't remember where. I don't know if it's on my ArtStation or if it's on the server, but I break it down and show you all the different passes, the Photoshop stuff. So I wish I could open those up. And what I may do if I find those, I will get those posted so you all can see that. But the process is that's how it goes. Especially over here in Moto. Moto is an easy program to use. It is not that freaking complicated. And it's all spelled out for you. The great thing about using this is if you can read, you can use the package. It's just that simple. So I can drop in something. I can move it around. The way the navigation is a little different, but you can set it up for like Maya's navigation, or if you want to do something like that. Okay, so I have a real-time renderer, or I can press F9 to pop off a render. And look at, these are all the different cores. What I really love about this is it gives me all my information, what I'm doing, how many cores is using, how much time it took. It shows you everything. And I can do a comparison. If I have multiple renders, I can do some post-processing right here. And I can set up, see, I have an alpha. And then if I wanted to add and multipass, I can say, hey, I want you to render the lights, and I can set up all that stuff, and in real time it'll show me all of those. I can go here and it'll show me every single one of those. Okay. It's just that quick and just that fast. So Blender's renderer pretty much is set up like their renderer. Okay. And even pressing M, I can set up materials here. I can decide on what type of material, what type of color I want it to add to this thing. Just that simple. I have a material editor, which means that I can take preset materials and drag and drop them right on. It looks a little complicated, but it's really not. I used to teach this, and when I used to teach the artists, a lot of the artists that I used to teach were Maya artists. They had a lot of experience in Maya. By the time I were done with them, in for like 30 minutes in Modo or a term in Modo, a lot of them didn't go back. And honestly, a few of these people found jobs right out of before they even graduated because their portfolios, they were kicking out the work quick. I don't have to fight the program. This is a good program. I don't have to fight, especially for gaming. If you want to make game assets, this is an amazing program to get into. I wish I could teach this. But there's tons and tons and tons of different tutorials out there. I can't answer that, Isabel. I know why, but is basically who owns it is why in their portfolio. This happens a lot. So yeah, that question that you're answering, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to answer that question. You would have to go and do that research on your own. It's a shame that it's going away. And the only reason why that program is over at the Foundry is because John Knowles from Industrial Light and Magic pitched an idea that the Foundry should back it, should put funding behind it, and use it because ILM digital domains, a lot of big shops are they still using that program. A lot of compositors are using it. Concept artists are using it. 3D modelers are using it. Shoe designers, car builders, they're using that package for, and it's used in a lot of games. Okay. So you can go to their gallery on the Foundry and take a look. You need to go over, if you're interested in that whole thing, just go and look at the, go over to the forum on the website and they'll talk about all that. So, but you all have access to it for free and all their training. Okay. So personally, if I'm starting out in 3D, Maya is not going to be my first choice. I would always tell students, go use something like Modo, because Modo was a standard also. Go use something like that. It'll get you up to speed in modeling real quick. And by the time you transition over to Maya, you'll have that full understanding of what it takes to do this stuff. If you understand animation, you understand it all. Okay. But this is it. This is the assignment. This is what you need to do, and that's pretty much it for this particular thing. Okay. Any questions? Okay. You know what you need to do. One thing that I want to see, let me check. No one has posted anything to the 3-point lighting rig. Now, when you render this thing again, this thing is rendering. Let me cover that just one more time. It has render, popped off a render. We can go to File and Save Image. And you want to put that someplace where it's easy to find. So for example, I'm going to put it in the HDRI. Put it in here, and then let's go open that up. I want to see what it looks like. There's the render right there. If you want to go to at a higher resolution, it's totally up to you. I say that I would cover that. So to increase the resolution here and go with a bigger size, give me a second. Sorry, 1 second. What you need to do is right there, little button right there inside of Maya is called the render settings. You want to open up the render settings. They seem to made a change here. I don't like it. So we can click here. And to open this up, and now I'm able to go in and change up certain things. So my file output, which I don't have to worry about. If I had an animation, I would change all of this information here. I would go in and make those changes there. But I'm not animating anything. We're just taking a still shot. But this is, we do have presets, so we can come in and I can say, hey, I want a 4K quality type render, which is going to take longer. So whatever the resolution is for 4K, you want to input. If they don't have it here, you need to go find it, but they do have high def 1080. See what it's going to do there. So it just increased that scale there, my resolution. So if I also had, say, a character or an environment that I want to go in and do some paint over stuff for concepting, I want to increase that resolution up to maybe 300. It's just going to take longer. We are in pixels right now for the unit. You can come in the size here. You can change it to things like inches. Be careful here, please. You make a mistake of changing this over to inches, and you look at that. This thing is going to be massive, and it's going to take forever to render. Leave it in pixels. Okay, so be real careful about what you do here. So we're not playing around with Z depth or anything like that. You don't need to play around there. We do have an alpha, which we're not going to see alphas here because we don't have any type of AOVs, which is where you would set that stuff up right there. So because the backdrop is seen, we're not going to see these as an alpha there. We do have some render. Don't worry about that right there. Let me see what else. Nothing else. So this is the resolution this thing is going to output. Pretty much. The system, now let me show you this real quick. If you have an RTX, let me save first. If you're using say a RTX, your GPU is an RTX or something like that, I can render either through CPU or GPU. Okay, my GPU, if it fails, it'll go back to CPU. I can tell it how much. So right there, I can enable it to only render from here. And this thing is going to start rendering in real time. And as I make a change, it's going to keep rendering in real time. If I need to, I can click this little button here. It'll create a snapshot. See right there, this is a snapshot. So if I go in and I have different, I change out my HDRI, I can snapshot that off like that. So you got to be careful. GPU is the way, this is the future. That's where everyone's going. How we render. Okay, you can play around with these. This is basically your bucket, how the bucket is going to, buckets meaning when I rendered in Modo, you saw those little squares. Those were called paint buckets. You don't necessarily see them here, but they're there. Okay. This is there are other ways of rendering inside of Maya, but I don't, if I recall, let me go over here to rendering. You won't have access to Maya's batch rendering. You may not. So Maya has a batch renderer for animation. So Arnold, there's something to do with Arnold and how you render in Arnold. So you got to be careful because it's going to say, hey, how many frames do we have? Where and you have to tell it where to put all your frames if you have a lot of frames there. These are things that you also may get into in the basic 3D class. Okay. So just note that we can play around with how this thing is going to output. If I had a multi-layer EXR, meaning if I had AOVs, and AOVs is pretty much, it's going to separate out, for example, my color. I may want indirect lights. I may want shadows, a shadow matte. So when you render out all these different things in here, we should be able to see indirect lights, which I don't see indirect anything. Shadow mattes, which I don't think is going to render. Nope, we're not seeing any of that. And here's my beauty. So these two is telling me, it's showing me that they're not going to work anyway. Let's delete all. Let me see what else we have in here that might actually work. Diffuse indirect. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so we're seeing something, a little bit of something tried to creep in. And it just may be an error. Okay, so this is how you can make those changes, and you can separate out. That's the multi-passing that I'm sort of working on right now. These are all the different passes that you can open in. Be careful, you don't want everything. if you're playing around with this, but you got to know how to put that stuff back together. So just to keep it simple, that's all we need. So this is the beauty. That's why it's called a beauty right there. Something is preventing this thing from, I'm wondering if it is because of the GPU. It could be the GPU that's causing that issue. So you're seeing the bucket size is set to like 64. That's 64 bits. You can change the scale of the bucket if you want to do that type. Maya gives you a lot of options in here, but it's going to require some research, some stuff that I just don't have the time to cover. But once you're done, you render, and it's going to progressively render for you. So we can stop it, refresh it if we need to, and then restart that render. See it? And it should give you the amount of information, how long it takes to render out this thing. And under Arnold, if you want to enhance the render, this is where it's done. The camera anti-aliasing, so we can bring that up a little bit, maybe to 5, and it's telling you the max number of diffuse samples that you're going to. So it's going to make it look a little bit better. Pretty much is what's happening here. Okay. And we don't need to play around anything else. We do have an environment in here, atmosphere. We don't need to play around with that because we already added a HDRI. This stuff here can get a little complicated. So again, from here, just come in, save. We open it. See, it got bigger. See the resolution right there. This is the new 1921. So let's go in and see if it could be better. If you want a true one, you'll use a EXR, but to be honest with you, you're not going to know what to do with that EXR. The EXR, you have to open up in Photoshop and make the changes there, but that EXR file is going to be large. And when I say large, I mean really, really huge. See it right there, there's an EXR. But again, you got to know how to set that thing up. But this is all I want you to do. So when you're posting your work in progress, make sure you take snapshots. Take a snapshot, which is not taking a snapshot. A second here. Nope, it's not taking a snapshot of anything. But you can take snapshots and it should pop up on the bottom here someplace so you can see what you're doing. So this is all I want you to do. Just drop in a work in progress from time to time. I'll go ahead and drop in one like right now. 3-point lighting, work in progress. There you go, right there to get you started. Any questions? No? Okay, everyone, I'm telling you, everyone's an expert. You're gonna want to contact me later on something that you could have asked now. So you know where to get your HDRIs, you know what to do, and just get to it. Okay, give me a second here.
Wait, I do have a question actually.
Go
You
ahead.
want our work in progress to be renders, right? Like no Windows snapshots. Like you want us to take the render and send
Yeah,
it?
you can do that. You can give me Windows snapshots. Now, look, let me mention this because this is something that you all seem to do a lot. I don't need to see the whole Maya. I don't need to see when you take a screenshot. Don't give me everything. Okay. If you need to, I want to see where you're placing like this shot here. Screenshot that. Okay. You can even screenshot your what you're doing, your settings so I can take a look at how you're setting up your lights. Okay. What settings you're putting in there. You can do stuff like that. But do not, on any circumstance, go out and screenshot the whole thing. I don't need to see all that. Because the image is going to be so small also that I have to really zoom in and it's going to take time to do that. I don't need that. Okay. So renders, show me how you're setting up where you're placing your lights. Different stages of where you're placing your lights, different stages of HDRIs, which one you decided to use. Make sure you show us. I don't care. It's all up to you for organization. I'm not going to tell you how to organize your stuff. These are things that you should already be doing, but it's totally up to you if you want to include that type of stuff there. But I don't really care too much about how you're organizing your own files. It's totally up to you. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, we're done. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.